Sunak and Truss, until yesterday, vying for to be the favourite to replace him. And then everything fell apart in the space of 24 hours. Absolutely fell apart. And I wonder whether, in some ways, the attempts to look normal are more damning than the actual budget statement, the actual spring statement. Because not only can he not... I mean, imagine not being able to fill a car with petrol without lying. That's what and I know possibly the PR thing is more important than I'm recognising. And I know everybody is going to be a little bit fast and loose with the actuality when they're putting together a photo opportunity. But on the day of the spring statement, somebody in his team said, why don't we borrow a car off a poor person and you can pretend to be filling it up in the petrol station forecourt, Rishi? And he went, yeah, great idea. And did it. And then he went into the petrol station to buy a can of Coca-Cola and he didn't know how to operate. Well, he didn't know how to use money. He's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. And he didn't know how to buy a can. I mean, the physical act of buying a can of Coca-Cola. He held his card up to be scanned by the barcode scanner that the petrol station worker was holding up. And then sort of took it down again and held the can up. He tapped his card against the Perspex screen, thinking that was how you bought a can of Coca-Cola. Now, we talk a lot about politicians being out of touch. And I stress again that having a few quid should not be a bar to politics, but possibly having a few quid and being a Conservative Chancellor or a Conservative politician creates a bigger obstacle to get over when it comes to displaying empathy for poorer people. What are poor people for? Well, we can borrow their cars off them. That's what they're for. Anyway, over here, I'm going to go and buy a can of Coca-Cola by tapping my card on the Perspex thingamajig while he waves that scanner. What's in my bobs? And there you go, can of Coca-Cola. All marvellous. Oh, by the way, don't ask me any questions about the £500 million that my wife's got invested in a family company that's still doing business in Vladimir Putin's sanctioned Russia. Don't ask me any questions about that. No, absolutely not. Ask me about, I don't know, Coca-Cola or something. Like coffee cups. I've got bread. Now, don't ask me about bread. I couldn't even answer that question without sticking my foot in my gob either. So, 10:15 is the time. I guess if it was Monday, we'd probably be going in first on the impact of the spring statement and this astonishing unanimity in the newspapers, at least, that Rishi Sunak has attempted to be what they're all calling an illusionist. So he's claiming one thing, but the reality, when you dig into the detail, is the opposite. He's claiming that he's cut taxes, but almost everybody, right across the board, including the Daily Mail, has concluded that he's actually put them up. And that wealthy families in particular will be paying $3,000 a year more, which, as you know, if you're a regular listener to this programme, I am supremely comfortable with that. But other people may not be. And the idea that poorer families are going to be worse off, I find almost inconceivable at the current time. No help at all for people on universal credit. I had to read that twice. So it's 10:15. I need to ask you a question. Otherwise, I'm going to have to carry on talking for another 15 minutes when we get back from the next interlude. I want to know why you think it went so wrong so quickly. Okay? And you can draw on anything here. I don't know people like Rishi Sunak. I went to a posh school. I've got very wealthy mates. Yada, yada, yada. I've got friends from pretty much every socioeconomic status. I've got friends who can't pay the bills at the end of the month until payday kicks in. And I've got friends who've got trust funds with more money in them than you and I will ever earn in our lives. But I don't know anyone like him. I don't know anyone who operates in that demi-monde of international high finance. And it does make me wonder whether he's got any business being in charge of the economic system in which people are struggling even to eat and to heat their homes. It does. I do wonder about that, because the ideology that has made him and his family richer than Croesus is surely an ideology that he's a big fan of. If he gave me the vaguest indication and turned around and said, look, I'm not going to apologise for having all this cash, but obviously I'm going to try and create a system in which people like me in the future won't have quite as much cash as we do now, then I give him the benefit of the doubt. But I've got a problem with the idea of him being in charge of a system that can create a country in which someone like him has got £500,000 worth of family money invested in a business still still ringing the tills in Vladimir Putin's sanctioned Russia, while he's in charge of a country in which people are leaving potatoes on the shelves in food banks because they can't afford to boil the water needed to heat them at home. I got a problem with that. It could be naive of me, could be idealistic, or it could just be bang to rights. So looking at the budget and how it's affected you, looking at the failure even to acknowledge the existence of people on universal credit, looking at the simple fact that he doesn't know how to buy a can of Coca-Cola in a supermarket, in a petrol station. I find that incredible. You might not. You might say, shut up, James, that doesn't matter. He doesn't know how to buy a can of Coca-Cola in a supermarket. That's how detached he is from the reality that you and I inhabit, all right? And he thinks it's a wizard wheeze to borrow a car off a supermarket worker and pretend that he's filling it up for the cameras on budget day. Pick on anything you want. That perceived personality. Don't be really rude or libelous, but perceived personality, background, attitude, wealth, whatever it might be. How did Rishi Sunak manage to go from hero to zero in 24 hours? In your view, what happened here? 0345 6060 973 is the number that you need. Because, eat out to help out. Admittedly, the gloss got knocked off it the longer it went on. Furlough, the beginning of furlough, admittedly, 3 million people got hung out to dry. But he did a spring statement in 2020 that many people suggested was pretty close to socialism. It wasn't. It's a much misused word, as you know. But the level of public spending being announced to support people in society that needed support was really quite impressive. So 2 years later, he's done the polar opposite. Is that the answer? From hero to zero in 24 hours. Just talk me through it as if I'd been asleep since, Wednesday night.